You know the type. Someone asks, "Hey, what are you doing for your birthday?" And they shrug, half smiling, maybe sipping coffee like it's just another Tuesday. "Nothing, really," they say. "It's just a day." And boom, there it is. The silence that follows, the awkward pause. Because to most people, that's weird. That's off. Isn't your birthday supposed to be your personal holiday? The one day you get to act like the universe revolves around you, guilt-free. Cake, balloons, friends shouting surprise. Even if you saw it coming from across the street. That's the script. So what happens when someone doesn't follow it? Alan Watts, the British philosopher who could turn a cup of tea into an existential thesis, had something to say about this exact thing.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
Reinforced by repetition and fueled by a sneaky little force called the ego. You know the ego. It's the voice in your head that loves applause, that wants the likes, the compliments, the confirmation that you matter. On your birthday, it's the one silently counting how many people post on your wall, who texts at midnight, who forgets. It's the inner PR team shouting, "You are special. You are important." But here's the kicker: what if you already know that? What if you've reached a point where your existence doesn't need a celebration to prove it's valid? That's the psychology of people who treat their birthdays like any other day. And it's not apathy. It's not sadness. It's not being over it. It's something far more radical, a quiet, grounded awareness that life doesn't need to be sliced into milestones to be meaningful. Alan Watts calls this the shift from ego to being, from performance to presence, because when you strip away the candles and confetti, what are you really left with? A date. A social contract that says, today, you're allowed to feel worthy. And Watts would say, why just today? Why do we wait for permission to feel significant when our existence is already the loudest miracle there is? Now, none of this is anti-celebration. If you love birthdays, if they bring you joy, if they feel authentic, go off. Dance under balloons. Eat 3 slices of cake. Wear the sparkly crown. But Watts was after something deeper than tradition. He was talking about the way people cling to rituals because they don't trust themselves to feel valuable without them. It's not the party, it's the need for the party that becomes the trap. Because needing your birthday to prove your importance. That's the ego talking. That's insecurity in glitter wrapping. But the people who don't need the party, the ones who say no plans without a flicker of shame, those are the folks who might have stumbled into something profound. They've realized that the celebration doesn't make the person makes the moment sacred by simply being. And honestly, that's kind of terrifying, because we've been trained our whole lives to earn attention, to be visible, to be seen in order to feel real. Birthdays are the ultimate cultural reinforcement of that idea. You matter today. We remembered. So when someone doesn't engage in the birthday spectacle, it can feel like a challenge. A break in the matrix. Are they okay? Are they depressed? Do they not think they deserve to be celebrated? But often, it's the opposite. They don't need to be celebrated, because they're not playing the game anymore. They've exited the loop of needing confirmation from the outside. They're not chasing recognition, they're rooted in being. Alan Watts had this way of describing ego as a mask, something we put on to function in society, to relate, to perform. But he warned that if we become the mask, we forget what's underneath. And sometimes, rituals like birthdays can reinforce the mask more than the soul behind it. Because when the party fades, when the texts stop coming, when the balloons deflate, what's left? You, still breathing, still aware, still present, still worthy. Watts would argue that's the real birthday. Every single moment, the recognition that life is constantly renewing itself, that you are constantly being born again in every breath, every blink, every choice to be here now. And that kind of awareness, it makes calendar dates feel small, not unimportant, just not necessary. Now, let's be real, this level of detachment from ritual isn't easy. It often comes after a lot of inner work, or after something shatters the old system: burnout, loss, heartbreak, spiritual awakening. The moment you realize that the party isn't the thing you're really after. What you're actually craving is connection, recognition, love, and the plot twist. Those things don't require a birthday. They don't need cake or candles. They just need you, showing up honestly. Because when you're anchored in being, in presence, in your own unshakable worth, then every day can hold the fullness of what a birthday is supposed to represent: life, renewal, joy, connection. So what does that look like? Maybe it means waking up on your birthday, feeling no pressure to perform. Maybe it means going for a walk, just listening to the wind, knowing that the fact you are alive is reason enough. Maybe it's saying no to the party not because you're bitter, but because your celebration is quiet, internal, infinite. And maybe it's recognizing that you're allowed to feel important on any day, that your value isn't time-stamped, that existence doesn't need an RSVP. Some people might see this as cold, as nihilistic, but Watts would say it's the opposite. It's freedom. It's liberation from the illusion that you have to keep proving yourself, that you have to be seen to exist. When you no longer need celebration, you can finally enjoy it if and when it comes from a place of pure gratitude, not ego hunger. You're not chasing applause. You're simply dancing in the moment. And hey, maybe one year you do want to throw a party. You might wake up and feel like gathering your people, eating good food, laughing till you cry. That's beautiful, too, because the point isn't never celebrating. The point is not being trapped by it, not using it to patch a hole in your sense of self. Because when you know who you are without the ritual, that's when you can show up to it with real joy. So the next time someone tells you they don't celebrate their birthday, pause. Don't pity them. Don't project. Maybe they're not sad. Maybe they're not broken.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
The year is a chance to be born again. So whether you like candles or not, whether you post the Instagram story or spend the day unplugged, just remember, your worth is not on a calendar. It's not wrapped in ribbons. It doesn't expire at midnight. You are the celebration. Every breath, every moment, always. And that, as Alan Watts would say, is the only truth you ever really needed. Alan Watts didn't talk about skipping birthdays as some quirky rebellion or a stoic personality trait. He was pointing toward a deeper shift, to pivot in consciousness where you stop being hypnotized by the little ego games that keep us spinning. And birthdays, they're a big one. Not because there's anything wrong with celebration, but because of what we think celebration means about us. Think about it. For most of us, the birthday isn't just about turning another year older. It's about visibility, about feeling chosen. Remember when you were a kid, and it was your day. Everyone looked at you, sang to you, gave you things. And in that moment, even if for just a few hours, you felt seen. So much of adulthood is just chasing that same feeling again, isn't it? We bury it beneath grown-up language, quality time, tradition, milestones. But if you peel all that back, the ego is still whispering, tell me I matter, remind me I'm special, validate that I'm still here and that my existence has impact. And if nobody calls, if no one posts, if the room is quiet, the ego spirals. But what if that silence wasn't emptiness but space, not loneliness, but freedom? That's the leap Watts invites us to take. To notice how tightly we grip onto rituals, especially the ones centered around our identity. Because the moment you start needing them to feel real, you're not free anymore. You're dependent. You're playing the ego's game of when this happens, then I'll feel okay. That's the same game people play with success, with relationships, with image. When I hit 30, I'll be confident. When I get this many followers, I'll feel worthy. When people remember my birthday, I'll know they care. But those when-thens are illusions. They're sandcastles in a tide that doesn't care. And Watts was ruthless in pointing this out, not to depress you, but to wake you up. Because when you stop outsourcing your worth to the outside world, when you stop holding your breath for someone else to validate your existence, what's left? Presence. The quiet, pulsing truth that you're already enough. Already alive. Already whole. No cake required. That doesn't mean you can't enjoy the party, but it does mean you stop needing it. You stop waiting for that day to give you permission to feel joyful or seen. And suddenly, joy is available now on a random Tuesday, in the middle of washing dishes, during a walk when the wind hits your face just right and something inside you goes, yes, this is it. This is life. No audience. No stage. Just you, here, existing. And that's the real miracle. People who've realized this don't brag about it. They're not smug or dismissive. They're just different. Calmer. More grounded. They move through the world with this gentle detachment from the performance. They don't take things as personally. They're not constantly measuring their life in likes, comments, or calendar milestones. They're the kind of people who, when asked what are you doing for your birthday, don't feel pressure to perform or apologize. They just smile, shrug, and say something like, just living. And you can tell they mean it. That doesn't mean they don't appreciate love or recognition. Of course they do. But it's received as a bonus, not a necessity. They've stopped tying their identity to the ritual. They've realized that life itself is celebration enough and that every moment is already sacred if you're awake to it. Alan Watts often spoke about life being like music or dance, not a destination, but a rhythm, a flow, and in that flow, birthdays don't hold any more inherent meaning than brushing your teeth or watching a leaf fall. They're part of the song, sure, but not the chorus you build your identity around. You don't hear a song and skip to the one note that says, "This is the important part." You let it move through you, all of it. The highs, the lows, the boring middle bits. That's life. And sometimes, just being is enough. But here's the wild part: this shift doesn't mean you become some emotionless monk in a cave. Actually, the opposite. Once you drop the ego's need to prove something, your relationships become deeper. Your joy becomes purer. Your love becomes freer. Why? Because you're not performing anymore. You're not relating from a place of lack, or hoping that someone else will fill your inner gaps. You're full. Which means when someone does remember your birthday, when they call or text or send you flowers, it hits differently. Not as evidence that you're worthy, but as a gift freely given. No pressure, no scorecard. Just a beautiful surprise in the unfolding dance of life. And if no one does, you're still whole. That's the freedom Watts was talking about. The end of needing the world to mirror back your significance. The quiet confidence of someone who's learned to rest in their own being. That doesn't come from cynicism or social detachment. It comes from deep, radical presence. From being so awake to the miracle of now that you don't need a reminder once a year that your life matters. You feel it every day. And yet, there's compassion here too. Because not everyone's there yet. We all start somewhere. For many, birthdays are important emotionally, spiritually, socially. They're moments of reflection, of family, of healing. And that's okay. The point isn't to shame celebration. It's to question what drives it. Is it love or fear? Joy or insecurity? Is it expression or expectation? Because if the celebration is coming from love, from authentic connection, beautiful. But if it's coming from fear that you'll be forgotten, or a hollow panic that you're not significant unless others say so, that's where the work begins. Watts wasn't against rituals. He just wanted us to see through them, to recognize them as symbolic, not sacred. Tools, not truths. So next time your birthday rolls around, ask yourself, who are you celebrating for? Is it you? Is it your inner child, your community, your joy? Or is it your ego, desperate to feel real? There's no right answer, just honest ones. And that's the real takeaway here. This isn't a prescription. It's a mirror. It's an invitation to examine your relationship to meaning, worth, identity. To notice what happens inside you when nobody says, "Happy birthday." To feel what stirs when you're not being celebrated. To ask yourself, am I enough without it? And if the answer is no, that's okay. That's the start. But if the answer is yes, then you've just stepped into a whole new world. A world where your worth isn't dictated by calendars or comments. Where love isn't conditional on rituals. Where your life doesn't need a special day to be sacred. Because you are the sacred. Not once a year. Always. Because by now, this isn't just about birthdays anymore, is it? It's about the quiet revolution that happens when you stop waiting for the world to hand you meaning. When you stop begging the calendar to tell you that today, finally, you're worthy. When you stop measuring the weight of your existence by how many notifications light up your phone at midnight. Alan Watts didn't say this outright, but his entire philosophy danced around it like a cosmic jazz solo. You don't need a reason to be. Your being is not a performance. It doesn't need an audience. And the minute you realize that, really feel that in your bones, something incredible happens. You stop chasing. Let that land. You stop chasing significance, approval, applause. You stop needing other people's reactions to feel like you've arrived. And it's not because you're above it, it's because you finally come home to yourself. The hunger fades. The noise quiets. The tension in your chest eases. There's a stillness. Because suddenly, you're not trying to prove you exist. You just do. You're not trying to get back to the moment. You are the moment. Now, let's be honest, this kind of awareness doesn't show up all at once. It's not like you wake up on your 34th birthday and go, yes, I have transcended ego. Bring me a green tea and a sunrise. No. It usually creeps in after disappointment. After years of hoping a celebration would make you feel something real, only to find yourself scrolling through birthday messages like a ghost in your own life. You feel the dopamine hit when the first happy birthday lands in your inbox. And then the slow come down when the last one is sent. The cake is eaten, the room is quiet again, and you're left wondering, was that it? That's the moment when the illusion starts to crack. And if you're brave enough, you start asking different questions. Not who remembered me today. But who am I when no one's looking? Not what do I deserve on my birthday, but what do I deserve every day? And maybe the most radical question of all. What if I'm enough, even when I'm not being celebrated? Watts would say, good. That's the beginning of awakening. The beginning of slipping out of the social costume and realizing that underneath it, you were never lacking. You were just loud with stories. Stories about time. Stories about importance. Stories about being special on this one day more than all the others. But here's the thing. Every moment is a birth, if you're paying attention. Every second is a chance to begin again, not because the world says it's your special day, but because you're here alive, aware, breathing, being, and that is sacred. Not because someone sang a song, not because you blew out candles, but because life is happening right now. And you didn't earn it. You didn't control it. You didn't schedule it on a planner. You are it. And yes, I know we live in a culture obsessed with performance, with metrics, with external milestones that mean something. We mark everything. Birthdays, followers, retweets, job titles, retirement dates. It's all numerology for the ego. But Watts would argue, this obsession with markers is just our fear of the unknown dressed up in a party hat. We're so uncomfortable with the vastness of life, we cling to structure, any structure that will tell us who we are. Birthdays just happen to be one of the earliest. You're taught from the time you can walk. This is your day. And for many, it becomes the day. The one time you're allowed to stop, reflect, receive. It becomes sacred, not because of what it is, but because we don't allow ourselves to feel special the other 364. But what happens when you learn to treat every day as a birth? Not with parties and balloons, but with presence, with reverence for the moment you're in. That's the shift Watts was pointing toward. A movement from egocentric celebration to soul-centric awareness. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, you're officially part of the small percentage of people who don't just click away, and that means a lot. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me your thoughts, your ideas, or even what you'd like to see next. I read every single one of them, and your feedback genuinely shapes the direction of this channel. If you enjoyed the video, tap that like button. It tells YouTube this content is worth sharing. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next upload. We've got more exciting videos coming, and trust me, you'll want to be here for them. This channel is just getting started, and your support helps it grow faster than you realize. Thank you again for spending a part of your day here with me. Stay curious, stay motivated, and as always, take care of yourself. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video.